The story of Bull LaDuke begins in a small town located in eastern Pennsylvania named Easton. At the time, the eastern portion of Pennsylvania was a hotbed of old-school professional wrestling. In Philadelphia, the World Wrestling Federation taped their weekly wrestling show at the Philadelphia Arena, located at 45th and Market Street. In the mid-1970s, they moved from this historic location into Agricultural Hall, located on the Allentown Fairgrounds in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The Worldwide Wrestling Federation also taped a second show in nearby Hamburg, Pennsylvania at the Hamburg Fieldhouse. These tapings were held every 3 weeks and became the cornerstone of the World Wrestling Federation's television product before they moved to larger arenas in the 1980s. As the World Wrestling Federation solidified their position as pro wrestling titans in the eastern Pennsylvania area, another organization, headed up by former World Wrestling Federation champion Bruno Sammartino, called International Wrestling, began taping their television program in the ballroom of the Americas Hotel located in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, another small independent group called the Continental Wrestling Alliance, headed by Paul the Concrete Cowboy Swanger, and D.C. Drake set up operations in the VFW in eastern Pennsylvania. The CWA also taped every 3 weeks with Twin County Cable. Their television show was seen throughout eastern Pennsylvania and northern New Jersey. It was the CWA that presented Bull LaDuke with his first opportunity to climb into the square circle and begin his career. So how did this happen? Legend has it that during a CWA wrestling match, the truck carrying the ring was stuck in mud outside of the event location. After several tries, under the direction of a somewhat dubious wrestling manager named Uncle Bob Pagani, a large man came out of the crowd and put his shoulder into the back of the vehicle and dislodged the truck immediately. According to Pagani's version, when he saw this feat of strength, those in the crowd began yelling, "That guy's a bull!" Pagani stated that he immediately signed him to a contract and sent him off to be trained as a professional wrestler. Some people say that Pagani was not the best choice as a manager. He was a radio personality with the #1 show in eastern Pennsylvania on radio station Q100. Uncle Bob had an interest in pro wrestling since befriending the late Andy Kaufman, the infamous comic who had his neck broken when challenging the King, Jerry Lawler. When the CWA opened, Pagani issued an open challenge to the then champion, D.C. Drake. When Drake accepted it, Pagani was soundly thrashed and complained loudly on his radio show that he wasn't a wrestler but made it his mission to destroy Drake for what he did to him. Pagani trained LaDuke to do just that. Under Pagani, LaDuke used every dirty trick Pagani knew and a few of his own. As the match with Drake approached, the CWA was sold to a promoter named Bob Raskin, who shut down operations in Easton and began taping at arenas throughout the Northeast. The CWA then became the National Wrestling Federation. LaDuke's career then moved to the All-American Wrestling Federation, located in Jersey City, New Jersey, and headed by legendary Latino wrestler and promoter Tito Torres. LaDuke moved quickly through the ranks and became the All-American Wrestling Federation champion, defending his belt throughout the Northeast and in several foreign countries. LaDuke became a fan favorite as champion and immediately fired Uncle Bob. Although he was a super heavyweight, his cat-like swiftness and unbelievable strength garnered him a huge following, especially among younger fans. LaDuke would often remark that it was seeing the delight in the eyes of kids at the matches that was his inspiration to fight every match as if it were his last. Unfortunately, LaDuke's size was also his undoing. Years of wear and tear on his body, he began to suffer injuries that prematurely ended his wrestling career. Today, LaDuke has retired to South Carolina, where he continues to be involved in professional wrestling in other areas, operating a website that concentrates on old-school pro wrestling called BullLaDuke.com. As for Uncle Bob, he is also retired and living in the Pacific Northwest, and continues to raise hell wherever and whenever he can.